So you start having these questions about like who's right and who's wrong and who's looking at it from what angle and what did they believe and whose information can I actually trust? If you spend any time on the internet, you'd know that everybody always loves to talk about problems. Problems with the economy, problems with the housing market, problems with work-life balance, problem with lifestyle, problem with needs, problem with grinding, problem with everything. It's easy to forget that this present future is the first time humanity's ever been here in this situation, maybe, unless you subscribe to some ancient civilization that was technologically superior or something. But our society is a reflection of the environment that we made. And it's not working for anybody, really. I mean, it is working for some people, of course. That's the American dream, the lie everybody believes, is that they'll be one of the ones who get to have the good life eventually if they just do this or that or the other thing, you know? Make as much money as possible or become as spiritual as possible, dig down the rabbit hole so deep that like somehow you find yourself again, you know? Everybody's solution has nothing to do with the big picture, right? And then, of course, people will always go, you know, once you pass that level of thinking, you go into next, like all the traps that exist to vacuum you from, you know, kind of nihilism. They try to vacuum you from nihilism into some type of hope or some type of community or some type of group or some type of way to fix your life. And it's really, really easy to get caught in one specific spiral of that until your identity is something so intertwined with some sort of dogma or some sort of story you've been sold, right? You have, of course, the nihilists, which I think are like one of the first stages. This is like Dark Night of the Soul type stuff, where, you know, the world starts falling down around you. All of the illusions that used to shape the way that you saw the world, they're now kind of gone. And so every religious group has a chance to attach onto you, to be like, hey, well, listen, we deal with this stuff all the time. Come join the church. Or did you know Joseph Smith? Or, you know, like one of these religious groups. Or you start to get involved in some sort of like occult or mystical stuff. You might bounce into stoicism, you know, for a while. You try to turn this nihilism into some sort of like sense of purpose, sense of personal, you know, belonging. Like you're gonna battle your way through the world somehow, you know? And then, of course, you get to like Gnosticism or Hermeticism, Kabbalah, or even like some of these rabbit holes, they follow many different traditions. Like you'll find people, especially with like gematria or numerology or different languages and stuff, they try to connect all of the ancient deities to some central story. So in your head, you must think that, you know, kind of past the layer of dogma, past the layer of religious beliefs or some sort of like individual spiritual sect, then you get to the point where, you know, you're trying to figure out what actually is the truth. It can't be that you have to read, you know, 70 different religious books and theories from, you know, 70 different religious sects, you know, or Gnostic sects or whatever, frameworks of belief for the world. You shouldn't have to read every book that's ever existed to understand how the world, what you were meant for, okay? What you are. Like, you just are that. Do you understand? You are that, so you shouldn't have to go outside of yourself to the ends of the earth to figure out what you are. You are you. You know what I'm saying? You are human. So you start having these questions about like who's right and who's wrong and who's looking at it from what angle and what did they believe and whose information can I actually trust? You know what I mean? Because of course, you know, historians are so caught up in trying to figure out if, you know, they trust the source of the information that they're getting. And it's like, sure, like, is this information historically accurate? And that makes a big difference to know if it's accurate or not. Well, it makes all the difference, but do they actually contain what I need? You know what I'm saying? Do they actually have the juice? Is the juice inside of this group of people? The juice, I mean, meaning like spirit, like some sort of current running through the being of everything that you know, tells it it's what it is, or could tell us what it is. Did these people actually know something worthwhile, or are they just another version of our society that I don't believe knows? We don't know what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? We don't actually know what we're doing. I mean, I'm sure there are people who do, but obviously they're either influential in the wrong ways or they haven't figured out how to be influential enough. But most people have no idea what they're doing. So if you look back at any of these religious organizations, groups, stuff like that, you know, did they know what they were doing? And so then once your thought gets here, you can't ignore anymore looking at your place in the world. You know, life through your story, your actions, your surroundings, life through your eyes, what you've seen, what you've experienced is the most important information that you could possibly know about any of this. It's the most important information available to you is your life and your experience, because you're the only one who can verify your own understanding. You're the only one, okay? And it's scary. And like a lot of people are like, well, God's revealing this to you. And it's like, sure, maybe God's revealing it to you, but it's evidently clear that you have to actually make yourself available. You have to actually open yourself up, you know, and look at your own life and look at your own story, your own image, what you know about yourself. And you have to figure out, you know, okay, what do I actually believe? Is it, if you knew nothing, you would know this one thing? You know what I'm saying? Is that how you feel about the information that you know? Basically, your actions speak louder than words. How do you actually live? What do you experience in your day-to-day versus what are your beliefs? And that disconnect, that dissonance between lived experience and personal belief is exactly what's causing this uncertainty inside of you. If you believe that there's no purpose to life, then, you know, you get this sort of P. Diddy stuff going on, or you get the Epstein stuff going on, where, you know, you can tell either these people are demonic or hedonistic because they act as if it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? They act as if it doesn't matter, life, you know, people, humanity, things, you know, they act as if they don't care about like the emotional well-being of a human. You know what I'm saying? So if you believe that, then it opens up this whole hedonistic world, right? And then you have your classic like deists, like your Christians, your Islamists, your Jews, at least the lay people, okay? It's completely different inside these weird like mystery or secret versions of the religions or the different groups and orders within the religions. You know, they have all sorts of weird fuckery going on, okay? But I mean the lay people, you and me. Like when I say I'm a Christian, you know, I go to church one time a week, you know, I bring macaroni casserole to the potluck once a month type of thing, right? If you're a deist, right, then that would mean, at least in the Christian sense, as far as I understand it, I was raised Christian, is that God made you whole, right, without sin. Somewhere along the way, that, you know, isn't the case anymore. Okay, somewhere along the way we lost that bit, okay? And now your actual purpose after that happened is to kind of claw your way back to God and then help him reach other people, right? That's your kind of help it spread across the world. That's your mission, right? If you're a Christian. Same with Islam, same with Jew. That's why they act in these ways, right? Because the people who 100% believe it is their mission to conquer the world. And it's completely morally justified within them, okay? Which is okay. If they're right, if one of these religions is right, then you would want that one to encapsulate the whole world, because then we could live in harmony with the world. Wow, we could live in harmony with it. You know? We could be okay. We could all be okay. We could all be working towards something or in something. Practically, if everybody believed it, it'd be heaven on earth. And it was true. If everybody believes it and it's true, it's heaven on earth. That's how it works, right? In deism, in this type of religion, right? Or, you know, you could go internet schizo and fall down, like a lot of people are nowadays, like Gnostic rabbit holes or Kabbalah, you know, any one of these like mystery traditions, basically, secrets, right? Occult traditions, occult orders, sects, rites of passage, right? If you get opened up to that world, in my opinion, you open yourself up to a world of insane mental stimulation, and you end up in an area where if something isn't true, but it hits you so deep that it feels like it is, it could get you even worse than any one of these religions. Some of these things feel so true, bro, or feel so like mind-blowing that it's like, you almost feel like you have to attach to them, right? You have to incorporate it. But if you haven't looked at your own understanding, if you haven't realized that all of this is super silly, okay? All of this is super silly and dumb. If you don't actually sit with the information that you have and really know it, dude, you gotta really know it. And I'm not talking about reading books, and I'm not talking about watching videos. I'm talking about sitting on your ass and trying to understand what it is that you know, okay? And that's the hardest part of all, because you're so used to consuming that you don't even give yourself the time to digest. You're so used to taking in so much information from the exterior, you give your interior no room to breathe. You don't actually digest, you don't actually sit on all that it is that you know. And I believe this is a lot of what Gnostic traditions and religions actually speak of. This is the kind of truth that they're all hinting on, is that you within you contain the essence of what is in everything, right? And so to know what is out there, to know what the world is, to know what the world is like, is what you're like, okay? You understand bits of yourself, your psyche, your understandings from what's outside, okay? But what's inside is all of the information that you've already taken in that exists and sits there for you to utilize, which you don't, of course. None of us do. We don't actually understand how it all fits together because everybody thinks and acts like they have to be so busy all the time. Too busy to understand and sit with the truth, the information that they know. I'm too busy for that. You know, I get to watch my news, like my, whatever it is, if it's like some undercover or secret news or regular news, it's all news, it's all new information. Whatever it is that you're consuming, it replaces the time for digestion within your atmosphere. And this will keep you stuck in whatever place you're currently stuck in so much longer, okay, than if you were to just open yourself up to actually thinking about all the information that you know. Now, therapy and therapeutic practices will try to, pervert this. They'll try to distract you from the fact that you actually have to do it, and they'll go into, thinking about your backstory and then prescribing immediate solutions, right? So they'll be like, oh, well, your symptom is that you're depressed, or, you're neurotic to some degree. And you need to figure out a way to solve that so that you can live a more normal life, right? So they'll try to catch it right at the symptom of the problem, right? No more symptom, no more problem. Ha! And obviously that's not the case. Everybody knows that it runs deeper than that, but nobody wants to admit it. They'll try to intercept you. Like when you first started this journey, everywhere will try to intercept you. You'll start thinking that, there's something wrong with your brain, basically. And the whole time, all you ever needed to do since birth was just to sit there and know it, and do that often enough that it's all incorporated healthily, right? You eat your food and then you digest your food, okay? A concept called leisure, right? You eat your food and then you digest your food. You take in all of your information and then you have to figure out a way to process it. But everybody's scared to do that because they're busy coping, or they get caught up into one of these other rabbit holes that their entire time is focused on, exoteric stuff, in the world stuff. And then when they're home or when they're resting, they're either consuming content or just thinking, worrying about, planning for real world stuff, outside world stuff. And you see like workaholics and even people who, like I said in my last video, like NEETs or basement dwellers, these people around all day, and they have this insane like advantage almost of the extra time, okay? Because if you're working a 9 to 5, you have, 40 hours a week less time for leisure, and you still need to rest, and of course, especially if you're working hard. And so these NEETs and the basement dwellers have so much extra time to do something with, right? To understand all of this within themselves with, but they use it to entertain themselves because normally they're nihilistic or atheistic, or they just don't care, right? Just don't care. They want to be stimulated. They want to play their video games. They want to do stuff. And trust me, I'm not blaming, I'm not, accusing anyone of anything. I'm just saying that's how it works, right? You're a NEET. You live in your basement because you're interested in things. You have hobbies, you have interests, you have games you play, or music you listen to that you like interacting with more than the outside world. And everybody will judge you because of that, because, it'd be nice if you could afford to live yourself without the help of somebody else who's also trying to afford to live themselves, right? But this time could be used so productively in your life. And it's a truth that, it's hard to even put into words. So how would people even begin to talk about this, right? So you end up with weird stuff like work-life balance and all this. It's like, it's not really the work-life balance that is the problem. It's the value of the work. You know what I'm saying? It's just not valuable what I do. I don't actually, I'm not going to change the world with my 40 hours a week. I'm not going to change anything. I'm going to make some money for somebody and make some money for myself. And that's all I'm going to do. So if you get tired of that, which I think everybody is tired of that, I'm pretty sure. If you look around, I think everybody's tired of that. I might be wrong, but I think it's safe to say. Then you need to figure out your own view of it, okay? Please. It's the world's best thing you could do for yourself and for the people around you. But it has to be built on truth, and the only way to access truth, and this is like, if you don't take anything else from this video, the only way to access truth is from your own inside understanding of your own experience. You can't gain any other truth than that. It's all the information that you know, because you'll never be acting in a way that's true to yourself unless you take the time for leisure. And maybe then you have time for the other aspect of leisure, which is study. Okay? Study. Now you have something to go figure out. You have a reason to actually go learn this, and now you can seek out the information, and now you'd be much more passionate about what you're looking for. You'd be much more passionate about finding the right thing, that you'll work, you'll do a lot of work, but it won't even feel like work. It just feels like purpose. All these words. Yeah, so anyway, if you think I'm right about this, or if you think I'm touching on something that, is worth paying attention to, then let me know what your approach is down in the comments, because I'm also doing this. We're all doing this together. My favorite place in the entire world is a comments section, because you get to see everybody's little weird tidbits about everything. And I appreciate the people who do talk to me down in the comments. So leave one down there if you have something to say. If you just think I'm young and naive and just blowing this all up, then feel free to chastise me there too. And we'll see you soon. Thanks for joining me.